Welcome back to Don't Lift Off. A very brief intro. In a second, we'll be joining Conor Flynn. Conor is a son of a friend of mine, Pat Flynn. Pat, unfortunately, is no longer with us. Died a few years ago, and I don't particularly know Conor that well. So what am I doing today? Well, or what are we doing today? We're going to be talking about his ice driving school in Sweden that he does every winter, and how he's grown the business since his father's passed away and he's taken over the helm. I'm looking forward to finding out a little bit about what he's done with the school. It looks like he's really expanded it, and ice driving is just one of the best things to do when you're learning about dynamics of a car. It's mega surrounding. You're in log cabins and you're on proper frozen lakes, and you learn about left foot braking, you learn about drifting and understeer, oversteer, every type of dynamic, because the car is constantly moving around and you're in safety. Because what's the worst thing that can happen if you go off on a frozen lake? Well, you're going to hit an ice bank. I suppose you could go through that lake if it's thawed out, but when you're in a high ground in Sweden, that's not likely to happen when it's like -10 constantly. So looking forward to Conor joining me in a second and learning all about Ice Drive Sweden.
Want me to move away from the window, or is the window fine in the background?
Fine, I think, isn't it? Yeah. Obviously add to the atmosphere, mate. Oh, look at that. Look at that.
And then,
You don't have to freeze your nuts off, don't worry. What temperature is it over there at the moment?
it's actually minus 0.1, so it's actually very warm today.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we've got 2 days of warm, and then goes back to minus temperatures again.
What's it been? Minus what?
2 or 3 days ago we had like minus 27, minus 28.
Really? Minus 27. Is that overnight?
Yeah. It was like minus 15 in the day and then minus 27 at night.
Holy crap! I never realised it got that cold.
Yeah, it was minus 35 about 3 weeks ago.
That's when your nostrils start icing up.
That's horrific then. Anything below, if it's colder than minus 25, it's cold. If it's minus 30 and colder, then it's horrendous to be out in.
I remember your dad saying I first went over there in 2009. In fact, that's the only time that I went to Sweden, and your dad saying like the preparation for it was like there's no such thing as bad weather, it's just bad clothing or something like that. And like 15 layers later.
Yeah,
No, I just thought it'd be. By the way, the final recording, it's pretty shit quality right now that we're seeing, right?
Yeah.
The final version, if we leave the browser open, actually uploads to be real nice quality.
Okay.
So, we'll just leave it recording. No, I wanted to just kind of catch up with you because we don't really know each other. We've spoken randomly when, like, I've been in the passenger seat of a car and someone's phoned you. I can't even remember who it was, and I was like, "Is that Conor?" And we're kind of friends on Facebook. We don't really know each other, and we're only friends because I suppose we've got a lot of mutual friends. And also, I knew your dad back in the day, and So tell me, when do you first started getting involved with Ice Drive Sweden? So that's your thing. Tell me a bit about it. Tell me about how you got involved and what you've done with it, really.
It was actually, obviously, Dad run the 205 Challenge in whenever that was, 2000 odd. And obviously, he then decided via Kev Ferber that the winner of the championship should go ice driving. So I think, long story short, the link was Kev, obviously, I think drove with Volkswagen with Håkan Eriksson. And Håkan Eriksson owned an ice karting venue 30 minutes from where the lake is. So Hawken knew the farmer who ploughed the lake, and obviously it all got together. And Kev and Dad come over, I think, as a trial year. 2003, I think, was the first year we come over. So I'd have been 9, maybe.
Oh, okay.
And we come over, and I think there was maybe, I don't know, 7 cars. We obviously drove from England, got on a boat in Newcastle, I think it was, to Norway somewhere, and then drove the last period up, obviously on summer tyres, not realising quite how bad the snow would actually be on the roads. So I think there was 5 or 6 205 rally cars, and Kev had a Honda Civic at the time. And yeah, so we ended up at the lake, put these winter tyres on, and couldn't believe that all of a sudden you were doing 8 miles an hour up the road to get to the tyre place, and then suddenly you left the tyre place doing 60, 70 miles an hour like you were a hero on the ice, and the tyres obviously make such a difference. So then fast forward 7 or 8, maybe 10 years, and Dad was, obviously this was probably when you then arrived, and Dad had bought an E3325 times 2 and a random thing of a 406 SRI turbo, if that was probably here when you were here.
Okay, might have been.
A really random car, and it was like one of the best things ever, because obviously it was front wheel drive, like 200 horsepower turbo, but because of how long it was, like you could left foot brake it, and it was just amazing. And then so then fast forward, I took over in 2013, and me and Ella started to do it properly then, and decided that we were going to try and make a bit of a business out of it, because Dad never did it as a business. You just did it as friends and family, and you pretty much had to
it was. I mean, we were just discussing this, that when we went over, it was kind of just starting to turn into a business. And it was literally mates rates when we came over there. I mean, it was ridiculously cheap, and it was stupidly cheap, but I suppose in a way that the fleet is kind of reflected that in a way.
Yeah.
So how, from your point of view, have you approached it more of a, you're approaching it more of from a business angle? Because do you mind telling me a little bit about what your background was prior to that? Because you worked with Darren at Driver's Dream Days, didn't you?
That was it, yeah. So I started, I was in trial bikes when I was young, and then 12 grass tracking, 14 junior rallycross, 16 rallycross, and then obviously moved into rallying when I obviously had a road license at 17. But yeah, I think I was 15, I'd do 2 weekends a month for Darren, just doing demos and whatever at Driver's Dream Days, obviously that's now turned into Everyman.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah, obviously did jobs for the likes of Ian Knight and obviously Justin Dale and Osborne Purdy, etc. with Dad, and just doing like a cone boy or basically whatever I could possibly do to physically get behind the wheel of a car, I'd do. So yeah, started with that, and then and here we are now, and this is a fully fledged, I guess, a massive business now compared to certainly what it was 5 years ago.
Do you think you learned when you were doing stuff, or when you were working for Everyman? Do you think you learned a little bit more about the business element of that and how it ran? And because you position it, I mean, because am I right in saying that Everyman it was like one of the biggest experience operators in Europe, wasn't it? Or wasn't it the biggest or something random?
I would probably still say it is the biggest. And obviously my cousin is very much involved with it, and now a lot, and he obviously comes and does 3 or 4 weeks here too, because obviously every man.
That's John's lad. What's his name again?
Michael.
Michael. Yeah.
You've got Michael and Liam, who are both
Liam. That's it. I know Liam.
Yeah, involved in cars. So Liam now works for AMCI full time, and Michael works for Everyman full time. But both come and sort of share the 7 weeks we operate in Sweden for. They do like 3.5, 4 weeks each, sort of thing. And help out. But no, I don't think Everyman actually did have any business involvement, because I was young, stupid, and just wanted to piss around in a car every day. So I probably didn't look at Everyman as a business and helping me advance Sweden, because I went to Everyman and just messed around in cars and had Billy racing and all the things.
Yeah, love a bit of Billy racing.
And all the things.
There's nothing better in the world, is there?
Yeah, all the things I tell my lads off for doing now in Sweden was obviously what I did 15 years ago.
Yeah.
So yeah,
We had it to one point. We had a whole billy racing championship going on. So we would have a whole league. It's like, right, who could get customer into the seats, it's strapped in, out onto the circuit, do your mandatory 8 laps, and your assessment sheet back in the briefer's hands first. It's whoever got the sheet. Sorry, I digress slightly, but
No.
When you're competitive, you take it to a different level, don't you?
Yes, but every man. I always remember at Elbington, there's about 6 of us on, probably heavily hungover, because we'd been out probably till 2 or 3 a.m. the night before, and we were jump in a car, and it would be literally by the time the customer sat in the seat, you'd pass them the belt. You'd got the foot on the brake, you'd engage first, you shut the door, you ran round to the passenger seat, jumped in, and it would be like a 4-way race out the pits to who got to the single lane first. And then Darren would very royally tell us off every event. We knew if Darren was stood in the middle of the pit lane when we arrived back, we'd obviously been exceptionally loud down the straight. Because obviously, a lot of places, obviously, you have noise restrictions. So we'd be... If someone's in a GTR, they'd always go under the radar because a GTR is never allowed. But for you to outrun a GTR in a 458 Ferrari, you were at 9,000 revs. So Ferrari'd be absolutely singing, and then you'd be stood in the pit lane going, "Uh-oh."
Oh dear, I'm in trouble again.
Yes, again.
Yeah. Poacher turned gamekeeper. He was hilarious. I remember Dazza on... I remember in a 306 GTI. I can't remember what day. It was on the Silverstone Southern Circuit. We were doing rides. And I was reasonably handy in 306, and I remember him coming, like, catching me up, and he was all over the grass, all over the curbs. So, Dazza, if you're watching this, good peddler, and I totally respect him as a businessman, to be fair.
But so I now see fully where Darren's frustration obviously come from with us lot messing around permanently when the boys here are doing the same thing. But you got to have a little bit of fun in your job, otherwise it's not worth doing.
Yeah, well, I suppose you understand the mentality and what they're at. I remember did this one day at Palmer's, and Palmer's was quite renowned back in the sort of early 90s as being just like a bit leery. And I remember Phil Ellis, who was the chief instructor then, and I only did 2 days at Palmer's, but the lads were cocking about doing something, and he came back in and said, like, "Lads, this is not like a Red Arrows fly past that we're doing here. Let's try and have a little bit of sense to what we're..." It's just like a schoolmaster. Yeah,
I can't remember all the stories, and I'm sure obviously the Palmer boys would tell them more about Dad, but I think Dad was probably the worst for messing around, I'd say, in the world, because he was just wild. And I remember. It was, I think they just got SLKs or SLK-MGs or something as their new whatever it would have been back then, and the only story I can properly remember was the boss of Merck had turned up randomly that day to see how the fleet of cars had obviously loaned Palmer's was, and Dad had put a brick on the accelerator and tied the steering wheel on full lock, and it was going round and round and round doing donuts while everyone else was watching. And obviously when the Merc guy turned up, he hit the roof about the donuts and then didn't realise actually that no one was in the car. So I think I probably learned all my tricks off him.
Yeah, but you approach it with a little bit more sense.
I think I've got a lot more sensible as the years have gone by. I think 16 to 21 was probably still a wild period.
Funny. We'll have to get you pissed up sometime just so you can bring out bits out of you.
Yeah.
So you've grown it from so it literally started at like 3 cars. In fact, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Here's one I prepared earlier. Let me see if I can show you. Where are we? Here we go. Can you see what I'm sharing? Can you see that on screen?
Yeah, you got an E30, and I can't tell what car the camera car is, but.
I think it could have been a Volvo or something. So this is what it was like back in the day. So this is 2009. This was me cocking about in the driving seat of the E30 in front, and then a little bit later in this video is Stu Clark coming in a Focus, again just standard road car, and the E30 was pretty much standard road car from what I remember.
There's nothing fancy about them.
and you can see the Volvo estate. This Volvo estate, actually, the lad had driven it over from the UK on full studded tyres, not like full WRC studded tyres, but they were proper snow tyres. And then a little bit later in this video, you see Stuart Clark coming from middle of nowhere in a Focus, and it was all a bit, it was, what were you learning? You were learning stuff all the time. In fact, there it is. You see Stuart just come out of nowhere in this watch the mother of all Scandi flicks from the Focus. It's just, it was great fun, and it got us all used to ice driving, and I don't know if this Stuart just going off there, but it was, it, like you say, it was kind of a mates type thing, right?
Yeah, and to be honest, I'm very high on not losing that spirit neither. So although we have obviously upgraded the cars majorly, we still do allow 2 people in a car, so mates can still go out in a car together rather than always having to have an instructor. And obviously we all know from what we do as well is that you want to be out with your mates, you want to be having a laugh. So we just basically have it as a rule that respect us in our cars, and we'll give you the freedom, and we'll crack the whip and be harsh when we need to, rather than just from the start. A lot of other ice driving experience companies, you have to have an instructor. You do 15 minutes in the car, then you go back to a coffee hut and do 45 minutes of waiting, and then you do 15 minutes again. Ours is 4+ hours of driving a day, split obviously between the 2 people in the car. So you do still get a good amount of driving, and depending what car you have.
Loads of driving.
Yeah.
4 hours of driving.
Yeah.
And to put this into perspective, having worked at race schools, so you'll go and do a 2-hour experience, and the reality of what that 2-hour experience is 2 10-minute sessions, or 1 10-minute and 1 12-minute session actually on the track. So you'll have a 20 to 30 minute briefing, 10 minutes to drive down to the activity area, little briefing down there, get your helmets on, and literally 10 minutes on track, back in, and then second driver gets 10 minutes, and then you do another 10 minutes and then back in, and then if you're lucky you get a ride at the end, and then you get a debrief. So that's your 2-hour slot, and out of that is sort of 20 minutes of actual driving. So that's mega. You'll be absolutely rinsed after a day almost.
Yeah. Most customers actually, when we call it at sort of last laps at 10 to 4, they're ready. They are, because especially if you drive on your own here, you are toast by the time it comes to 4 o'clock, because obviously the concentration level here is so much higher than on tarmac, because even on the straight you've got to concentrate because it's still going sideways.
Yeah. So where we've grown it from, literally it was from like 2 or 3 cars in the early days, and what was it when you took over the business? Because your old man passed away. Were you starting to get involved in the business before he started to get ill?
I did. Yeah, I probably from when I was 17, 18 was fairly heavily involved. So I probably did 2-3 seasons of me sort of running alongside Dad. And I was then, he passed away in 14. And then me and my sister did it. So I did the running of the business in Sweden. Ella did bookings and paperwork and whatever from the UK. And then I think Ella stopped in 1920. So she said she was basically wasn't getting anything out of it, because she was obviously not even in Sweden half the time. And her and her husband have got a fairly big business in England, so she was doing a lot more work with them and was struggling to keep up with Sweden work effectively.
Right.
Yeah, and then the last 3 seasons is where it's really took a turn and gone massive. So we added.
Is that when you focus on it? What's made that happen? Is it just more focus from your end?
Yeah, I think it's more focus, and probably a little bit of losing Dad. Sort of lost a bit of drive and wayward in life, I guess. Didn't know really where I wanted to be, what I wanted to do. Sort of, do I want to continue this? Do I want to continue anything to do with cars? I didn't fancy doing racing or rallying or anything, because obviously whenever me and Ella did anything rally and racing based, Dad was there. He wouldn't. So it was a bit weird to do anything like that without him. So yeah, and I guess then 4 or 5 years ago I decided that I'm going to push Sweden and give it sort of a 5-year plan and see what happens, and if it pays off, brilliant, and if it doesn't, I've not really lost anything. I can just maybe sell, pack up, do whatever. But yeah, probably my attitude and focus was definitely 100% Sweden then. And got a good team of lads around me now, and there's on busy periods there's 18 to 19 of us over here working.
Really?
Fair size team.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got a heated workshop now, we've got ramps, we've got like a dedicated safety team, so they're driving around making sure everything's okay, pulling cars out the snowbanks, got like a dedicated host, so you know,
Right.
not left to your own devices and just sort of chucked in a car and see you later. There's always someone in the pit lane welcoming you back. Obviously the Boathouse you've seen earlier, which I'm sure you're going to see again in a minute.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. Have a look at, again. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's funny when the call connected, like you were literally on the lake, and I was like, holy fuck, this brings back memories. This is like cool. It's such a cool thing.
Yeah, so that's made a big difference. I think the Boathouse, having the big fire in and a tea and coffee urn, just for people, because obviously before if you wanted anything, you had to physically drive off the lake and up to the main house, where you have your briefings and stuff. Whereas now it's briefing in the morning, you all drive your hire car onto the lake, you get given obviously an IDS car, and then that's yours for the day. And then basically the next time you leave the lake is at lunch, and you all come off the lake, which is quite nice again to go somewhere different. But the Boathouse is open 24/7 for tea and coffee, so if you fancy pulling in, or your passengers want to sit with you for a few laps, you can just get dropped off and wander in, and it's nice and warm in there with a big fire and tea and coffee on tap.
Yeah, mega. Well, listen, I'm just looking at the time now. It's 1:45. Your boys are about to go back out. So if I stop this now and then just go off, take your phone with you, and then we'll reconnect, and then we'll go and have a look outside. So now that you've seen me wearing my ridiculous hat as it's outside, I thought I'd, because I've seen some podcasts when they wear ridiculous outfits just to make themselves look funnier. And so this is a tribute to knobheads being knobheads, basically. So, because we're going outside and it's in the cold, I'm not sat in a basement in Leeds at all. So, yeah. Anyway, I actually couldn't find my Ice Drive. I used to have a 205 Challenge hat that your old man gave me, and an Ice Drive Sweden hat. And the only other one that I could find was Ice Driver, and I didn't think that would be correct to wear. Or Armin Schwartz's one that I did in Finland once. So, yeah. Anyway, right, are you out on the lake then?
I am on the lake, yes.
Nice. So show us what. Yeah, tell us what you got out there and what's going on today.
We have about 21 cars on the lake today. Mainly all a new group, varying levels of drivers. So some have never driven a car on any form of circuit, never mind ice. Some are obviously quite experienced track day people. Some are race and rally people. But yeah, we've got, I think, probably a very varied section. So we've got base cars now, like an MX-5 and a 325 compact BMW, ranging through to like a 130 BMW Club Sport, so like half roll cage bucket seats, all the way up to the newest car to our fleet is an R8 V10.
Nice. Is that 4-wheel drive?
Yeah.
How was that on the ice?
Wild.
What do you mean by that? Is it a hint of oversteer? What have you got? What's the balance
Not a hint
like?
of oversteer. It's a little bit understeery if you go too quick. So you basically got to be, Dad's favourite saying, slow in, fast out. But the way it puts the power down on a straight is mental. And yeah. And the noise, obviously it's got a Larini exhaust on it. So you just hear the noise of the thing echoing around the lake.
Mega.
So it's basically a straight piped V10.
No way. And can you hold a decent drift in it as well?
Well, yeah, got it. Yeah, it'll do a 500-600 metre drift on one of our fast corners.
Holy crap. I bet that'd be mega.
Yeah, it's unreal. And then new this year again is got an AM V8. We've basically made it into like a bit of a baby GT4 car, so big wing, bucket seats, roll cage. And that's got a homemade straight through pipe on it.
No way. Just cut it off with a hacksaw.
Basically chop the back box off and weld an exhaust pipe in instead. Yeah.
Proper. Funny. I see Jake Hill did a podcasts from there. Did he like? Because he'd have done a proper production, and the cars going past. That's probably a good place to see some of the kit in action, right?
Yeah. Jake spent 3 days with us this year, as he has done for the last 3 or 4 years. I think he treated his chief engineer and his chief mechanic this season, and brought some sponsors and stuff out as well. So Jake's a regular now at the minute. Still trying to get him to come back and work for me, but he's says he's too busy all the time. So
yeah, well, he's an international racing driver now, quite literally.
Exactly. Yeah, and then last year we had Colin Turkington as well here. I think he was going to bring his boys. I think his boys are starting grass tracking and stuff now, but I think for various reasons he hasn't made it, and obviously he's not actually doing touring cars this year for the first time in about 12 seasons. Yeah.
So what sort of type of customers do you have? Young drivers. That's what Kev Ferber was there yesterday, bringing his young drivers over.
Yeah, we had 7 14 to 17-year-olds who were doing the F1000 Rally Championship this season here over the last 2 days. So they've been in various cars, started in a Fiesta ST, had a MX-5 and a BMW to learn all different things. Obviously, although an MX-5 and a BMW are both front-engine rear-wheel drive cars, obviously they act very, very different. And then they went through and upgraded into a Subaru rally car and a Club Sport BMW with obviously these lappy tyres on, which a normal BMW 130, say if that did a 2 minute 10 lap around the outer track, the Club Sport would shave 20-25 seconds off it, just for these lappy tyres are unreal.
Oh, really? When you say lappy tyres, what does that mean?
They're a new thing we've only just found about 3 seasons ago, and they're just a way more aggressive stud and bigger. So like a normal road going stud, which is what our normal cars are on, and maybe 200-ish studs a tyre, and maybe anywhere between 1.2 and 2 mil protruding. And a lappy is something like 700 studs a tyre and like 2.5 mil protruding. So it doesn't sound like a big difference, but it's mental how much of a difference it actually makes.
Yeah, like super grippy, just dig into the ice and snow.
Yeah, exactly. So yes, it's a fair experience. Is it okay outside, or should I stay in the car?
Yeah. No, mate. Show us what you've got. Show us any kit outside. It's not just like we're talking to each other. You're in a car on like the M6 or
This
something
is
like that.
the Aston going past. So it made it look like basically a Le Mans GT4 car. So it's got big yellow lamps in the grille and looks like no other Aston, I think, probably. So some Subaru rallies. Got a Cayman coming next. So we like to put light bars and everything. As you can see, they've all got big lights on them.
Is that so you can run them at night?
We have actually got night driving tonight, and it's something we're going to introduce quite heavily for 2026. Is that we're going to do night driving, and you get basically a moose burger and driving it. This is the R8. We're going to introduce night driving for 2026, and you basically come off the lake around 4 o'clock. We're going to make moose burgers and chips. So you're going to have like a traditional Swedish moose burger, and then from that, then it goes dark about 5 p.m. here. So then you'll do some night driving in the dark. So all the cars have pretty much got light bars or big lamps on them now, ready for that.
Mega. That'll be wicked. What a proper experience that'll be.
Yeah, and it's obviously, I don't need to tell anyone who's into cars that obviously driving at night is totally different to day. And obviously, depending on the angle of the slide, means you can't see anything other than snowbank. So makes it very interesting when you're trying to see where the next corner is when you point in the wrong direction.
Yeah. I did a similar sort of thing in a forest with Armin Schwartz, although that was a lot narrower. I think it was more for kind of people that are literally doing rallying, whereas this is more of an experience for learning the dynamics of things and having a bit more space to play, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if it's allowed to be that I drive on my phone, I guess it's not a public road. I can take you a lap of the track if you want.
That'd be wicked. Yeah, yeah. Why not do that for a bit of a crack?
Yeah, I'll jump in. So I'm not going to be driving anything fancy, I'm afraid. I'm in a full, I think you'd probably call it a dad wagon
Proper.
with the roof box included.
Uh,
So yeah, we'll take you a lap of the outer track on the lake. Can I turn my camera around?
I don't know. See what happens. Is it give it, or maybe you just turn the front facer around?
No. I don't know what.
Yeah, there you go.
Don't know what you can see.
Yeah, you can see straight out front there now.
So yeah, it's we've got a BMW police car. We've made a BMW police car for our hot laps. So we've done bucket seats in the back as well as the front. So it's got 4 bucket seats in. It's obviously a 3-litre twin turbo with like 500 horsepower, and that's on 5mm spikes, and that's pulling like 110 miles an hour down the section we're on now. Is a really obviously fast section. And yeah, it's 110 miles an hour on ice is
No way.
stupid.
That sounds mental.
Yeah, so I can send you a picture of that, and you can put it in afterwards. But yeah, it's
100%. Yeah, Smokey and the Bandit on ice.
yeah,
Proper.
it's a very cool thing that it's like a traditional BMW estate police car, but obviously it's 500 horsepower, massive spikes, and like I say, Mark, who you were speaking to earlier, fabricated me bucket seats for the rear, which is quite a thing. I don't think many people have sat in the back of a car in a bucket seat.
Yeah.
And this
Bucket
is
seats in the rear.
Yeah.
It's like so you can do rides in it or something.
Yeah, so all we just get it out for hot laps. So yeah, to take obviously a driver plus 3 passengers in the bucket seats as you're going around.
That sounds proper.
So yeah, we've got this is the tightest part of the circuit now, into the tight hairpin. Obviously,
So we're running anti-clockwise.
we go opposites. So one day we will do clockwise, one day we'll do anti-clockwise. Just to mix things up, and it means most customers come for 2 or 3 days, so it means they're not like fully learning a circuit and getting used to it. It changes and chops and round and stuff.
Yeah, I remember your dad saying that at the time we kept using different configurations for different activities and...
Yeah,
Is that a
so
Porker?
that was a Cayman S, yeah.
Cayman. Oh, Cayman S.
Yeah, we've got four Cayman S's on the fleet now.
Have you really?
It's a Shogun sideways.
You can't
Yes.
actually make out it's going sideways. It looks like you're about to crash into something.
Yes, that was actually added.
Did you have a moment there, Connor?
That was 2 armfuls of lock that I had to apply to catch that then.
Amazing. It would just look like you're going straight.
But yeah,
Amazing.
so yeah, this, like I say, this year we think we added 31 vehicles, albeit not all lake vehicles. So we've got now a fleet of 6 of these Shoguns, so that like 3 are on safety, and mechanics have now got a dedicated show, because obviously as we're getting bigger and bigger, we are conquering more cars, which are obviously having more problems than when we only had 15 cars. So yeah, so we've got a fair sized fleet now. Yeah, it's ridiculous. I think I want to say my favourite is the Z4 Coupe. They just seem to be, they're obviously a 3-litre straight 6, 280 horsepower, 50-50 weight distribution, and they are good. They're really good. A Golf Cayman S is again, that's got a big exhaust on it, that one. So obviously that's the reason why all the lads want to drive the Golf one against the others. But yeah,
Nice.
I think most of our customers now say it's good to come here, one, because the freedom we give, 2, the driving time, but the big one is that they can rent a front wheel drive, a rear wheel drive, a rally car, and then something like the Aston or the R8 as well, and swap and change between the group. So if they come for 2 days, they can have the 4 cars for 2 days, and obviously swap and change. You're not just sat in the same car every day. day in day out. You can have a multiple and mess around between yourselves.
And so, give us an idea what sort of budget you're looking at to hire the cars and to do the whole trip as an idea. I mean, what's from what to what?
I think if we work on that with some of our agencies before hotels and stuff. If you want all the nice fleet, it's about £1,500 to £1,700 a person to come to us for 2 days, and that's including day one. You might have an MX-5, a normal Subaru, a normal BMW, and say a Fiesta ST. So you have a normal fleet of cars with no lappies and anything on day one, and then you'll upgrade to maybe Cayman, rally car, R8, etc. on day two, and that's roughly what it is. But obviously it all depends on Airbnb is very good round here now. So within the last 5 years, Airbnb's come on strong, and you can get like a 6 to 8 berth chalet with a sauna and stuff for like £80-90 a night.
Oh, really? That's very sensible.
Yeah, if you're in a split, and that's halfway between us and the ski resort, so it means you can come to us in the morning, then you can drive home, and within 40 minutes you're back in the ski resort for beers and pizza and food. So it's if you want to do it very reasonable, and you don't need to have all the fancy cars, in my opinion. It's very nice to say you've driven a R8 V10 around the ice, but if you've never done any form of driving before, I probably wouldn't recommend the V10, because like I say, it's a bit of an animal and it's hard work. So you'd actually get more out of doing, if you did 3 days, you'd get way more out of driving something else for the first 2 days and then getting in the R8 and already sort of hitting the ground running. But yeah, it varies. So our prices we're still keeping a compact and an MX-5 cheap. So that's roughly 330 quid per person. And that's obviously your track hire, your car hire, and your fuel. So
that's very sensible. I mean, to give you a perspective of where I've seen some of these supercar manufacturers, I've seen 20 grand as a complete package. I mean, we're talking, they're supercars, but you're paying for a lifestyle package. Whereas, if you wanted to do it and you're on a bit of a budget, but you want to do it as a bit of a life experience, that sounds pretty sensible.
Yeah, exactly. Like some of my friends who aren't even into cars particularly come out, and they had like half a day on the lake, half a day skiing, they went snowmobiling, ice karting, had just rented a real cheap Airbnb, rented a hire car from the airport, and did a Ryanair flight from Stansted over here. And I think they did it for like £480 per person for a 4-day trip, and that was alcohol, food, the lot. So you can do it where you really don't spend a lot. You've just got to understand that if you're not spending a lot of money, you're not going to get a 5-star experience neither. So you're going to be in an Airbnb, and you're not going to be in a hotel with a spa and stuff. But obviously now there is hotels with spas, so it basically you can cater anyone to any budget nowadays.
And do you do that? Do you let the third party organisers sort that out, or do you get involved in getting stuck into that yourself? Or
no, we very rarely book hotels and stuff for people. More that it takes my eye away from the actual ice driving. So we have 3 agencies now working with us. We've got someone called Classic Grand Touring, which do tours all around the world. They go to Kenya and South Africa and America, and do stuff like Classic Le Mans. So you can take all your classic cars, and they'll get you a VIP suite on the hairpin at Monaco, and so they do an all expenses basically paid trip. So the minute you get on your plane at Manchester to the minute you get off your plane at Manchester, everything's paid for other than your alcohol. We've also got Hype Motorsport. He does a lot of premium track days in the UK, so he's got a fleet of 6 cars, Cayman GTS, M2s, Lotus Emira, all track day spec. So a lot of his customers obviously do track days with him in the UK, rent his car, rent the circuit, and then he's bringing now groups to here as well. And then Supercar Drive are obviously our newest agency. That's their first season this season. So it's now just leaving it to them, and if you want all your hotels and flights and stuff done for you, then go via the agency. If not, WhatsApp or email me, and I'll point you in the direction of everything you need to know, and then you just book the cars direct and book your flights, hotel, and hire a car. I think, like I say, if you book it in advance, we've had flights for like 28 quid return, Stansted, with Ryanair. There's no thrills, obviously. You don't get any baggage or anything. You just get your hand baggage. But then you, like I say, you can be £20 per head in an Airbnb, and it's a warm and nice enough. And then we've got like local bars now that's like 20 quid for a beer and a pizza. So nothing's expensive unless you want it to be.
Yeah, it depends on what level you want to do it. Do you ever get people coming over with like family? Because I've had a couple of clients that I've done sort of, coaching with in the UK, and then, you sort of mention about the ice drive, and then you're thinking, okay, so what could the family do if I come over here as a life experience type thing?
Yeah, we've got a lot of families now, especially with the Boathouse being on the lake. I wouldn't recommend it for 2 or 3 days. I think they'd be bored. But even if the dad and son or wife and daughter wanted to drive, then they could come. Then the next day, Sweden do a very good thing now where it's a free bus service around the ski resort.
Okay.
So it's called Ski Star, and they put on a bus service that means you can go from the 3 ski resorts we have local to us. You can go between them on a bus for free. So no matter where your hotel or Airbnb was, you obviously have to walk the 500 metres to the bus stop, and then you get on the bus, and then you can go, and there's all sorts, like there's a indoor swimming pool, there's like golf simulators, there's obviously bowling, there's cinema, etc. Then obviously you've got loads of different places at night. Obviously you've got skiing, you've got dog sledding, you've got ice karting, snowmobiling. There's so many things now that, most people do 2 days driving on the lake, a day skiing and a day dog sledding, snowmobiling and karting.
Mega. Yeah, what a mega experience that'd be. And so how far is the ski resort from there? It's about 30 minutes from what I remember, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's about, if on a sensible drive, it's about 40 minutes from the lake to the big ski resort. You've got a ski resort closer, about 30 minutes. And then Råbacksnäs is the local town for us. There's about 8 or 9 Airbnbs in there that you can obviously rent, and then you're like halfway between us and the ski resort.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so you do somewhere in the middle, then it's not such a big journey. Where do you want to? How far away is the Boathouse? Because I'd quite like to see the old, or I'd quite like to show the old authentic Scandi experience.
Yeah, I can drive down and show you. So yeah, we've the tracks are fairly wide now. This is obviously our pit lane, but yeah, it's certainly advanced in the last few years.
Yeah. How do you grade it? Do you have the farmer still come down and drag the plough around and?
Yes, we've got our own plough now as well. So if it's just light snow, we'll plough it. If it's heavy snow, the farmer's got a grader, plough on the front of his tractor, and a snowblower. And then we've got probably, 14th century horse grader, which has now been adapted to obviously have a tow bar. And that's
amazing.
So that's real old fashioned. It must weigh about 7 tons. The poor shoguns that have to drag it round struggle all the way around the lap, but that does such a good job that it it has about 25-30 mil teeth, and obviously it chews up the ice, and then you don't do anything afterwards. So that's the last thing you do on an evening, or 2 or 3 times a week. You take this big grader over, it chews up the ice, and then you leave that settle overnight, and it freezes, and then that creates the best grip and really nice tracks.
Yeah, right. That's quite clever.
Yes, so we have. So walking up, obviously you've got the lake behind us. So this is your view from the boathouse, so you can see. It's not the best day actually today. This is probably 2 days this season. It's been a bit overcast and foggy. Every other day has been absolutely stunning and sunny.
Right.
But I'm guessing you can see the car headlamps in the background. So yeah, that's our pit lane in there.
Yeah.
You literally walk up. You've got, which we're introducing next year as well. We're going to have over the river a clay pigeon shooting activity, so you can come down, drive some cars, and obviously shoot some clays. So yeah, we've got
How
a big
do you run
fire
the
in the
electric
middle.
in there? Are you
Generator.
Oh, now we're talking on a Jenny.
So yeah, so you got tea and coffee station,
proper Scandi
and then the fire
experience.
So anyone can come in here at any point during the day and grab a tea, coffee and biscuits and sit by the fire for 10, 15 minutes if they want to.
Sorry, I was cutting off a little bit there. But it may still get a record, hopefully, your end. Well, mate, that's absolutely... I'm absolutely bowled over how you've made things progress. As I say, 15... it's 2009, so that'd be 16 years. 16 years in 3 days' time was when I was last there. And well done. Congratulations, what you've done there, what you've achieved. And this might sound a bit corny and a bit strange, but I was in a conversation with your dad in a car once, and we were talking about his illness, and that was when he kind of knew his diagnosis, and it was obviously it passed away from cancer, and when the conversation went along the lines of they're too young, and he was referring to you and Ella, and he was like, I said, they'll be all right, mate, they'll be all right. And I'm sorry to lay that on you, and it was just something that came into my mind, and holy fuck, you've been all right by the looks of things.
Yeah, it's I think it's probably Dad that's pushed me to do it as well, because obviously there's always the point where you think, why me, why us? He was young, he was a pain in the arse, but he wasn't a bad person. You think there's all people in the world that probably should people in prison and stuff that, I don't know, whatever they've done should be in his place.
I was amazed your dad didn't get into prison, actually. He was so fucking Larry. I was amazed that he didn't end up.
I'm shocked, actually, yes. But it would, yeah, very shocked. But yes, it's I think he's probably sat on my shoulder most of the time telling me, a lot of the time I think he'd be giving me a royal bollocking for how much money I've spent and the risks I've taken with stuff. Like, everyone told me that, Jesus Christ, why the hell are you taking an R8 V10 to Sweden when you know nothing about them and you don't have an Audi dealership within 8 hours, so if you want parts for it, you're on your own. And I was like, well, if it doesn't work, I'll just bring you back to England. Everyone's like, okay.
Big balls, mate, big balls. Viking balls, as your old man would say.
So yes, but
well done, mate. Well, it's really impressive. I mean, the purpose of it's a similar podcast that I did with my mate who'd got the simulator thing the other day. Ice driving is a mega thing. It's, to learn left foot braking, learning sliding a car. It's a great life experience, isn't it? And it's the purpose of this is not to do an Ice Drive Sweden promo, although obviously it'll I suppose it will be showing it in good light. But it's really interesting what you've done there, and it's good to see that you've got kind of both levels, both sides of the spectrum. If anyone wants to go and drive a V10 Audi, they can go and do that. But if you want to do it on a budget, you can do it on a budget.
And that's 100%. I'm keeping that. It's someone tried to actually invest in it about 3 or 4 days ago. We had someone on the lake and was like, "Oh, I'd like to invest and help you buy like 10 V10s." And I was like, "No, I have no interest in investment. I want to keep it as it is. I want someone like, I think back to me and Dad were obviously at 18 years old. Could I, an 18-year-old lad now, afford to come to Ice Drive Sweden? And it's yes, I could. So as long as you are physically earning money, you could save up and come to Ice Drive Sweden and have a day on the lake, cheap flights, cheap Airbnb, and it not cost you a fortune between you and a friend. Whereas I don't want to lose the familyness of it. And yes, okay, like I say, we have got an R8 V10, and it's obviously quite an expensive car to rent for the day, but we have 6 compacts and 4 MX-5s, probably potentially a 5th MX-5 for next year. So we'd have 11 cars on any given day that is going to cost you 700 quid for the day, and that's, like I say, track, fuel and car hire. So we all know now a Donington track day in your own car is 300 quid. And you got your own fuel, your own wear and tear, your own tyres on top of that. So
yes, that's really, really sensible.
Here's the old beast of a V10 coming in. And then the Aston's following too. So the Aston does look like a Le Mans car.
It looks proper, mate.
So
well, mate, that's a great way to end it, I think. Yeah, thanks for giving me your time. What have we been?
That's
What,
okay.
an hour? About an hour? 3/4 of
Something
an
like
hour?
that.
That's
Yeah.
mate. Well, hopefully I'll bring a couple of punters out myself and come and actually do it in person at some point. I know we've talked over a couple of seasons. Actually, I think over about a 10-year period. Actually, I have to come there someday. And then I've been involved doing ones across the other side, across in Norway. But yeah, I'd love to come over there again sometime. And
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. All right, pal. Well, thanks so very much. Keep it pinned.
Yeah,
Don't
thank
lift
you.
off.
Will
I have
do.
to say that from a cheesy point of fucking wanker. Why am I saying that?
No, it's a fast lap in a Shogun round here, and you can't lift because if you do lift, it's in a snowbank. So don't lift's quite a good theory here.
Cheers, Con. I'll do an official thumbs up, looking like I've not cut the video at all. Top man, look at that little cheesy bubble on there. Right, so we'll end it at that then.
I'm just in the middle of a podcast. Would you say 30 seconds to the camera?
Yeah, of course. Let's go for it. Come on, lads.
You don't get just 30 seconds out of him.
How are you doing, gents? You all right?
Don't know if it's... Is it back
Hello,
recording?
pal. How you doing?
I'm good, mate. Yourself?
Don't worry if you say fuck, shit, or bollocks, because it's one of those podcasts that you can
Oh, no,
say
that's
what you
pretty
like
awesome,
on
to
there.
be fair, mate. Listen, I know I'm a Yorkshireman, but this car is the one. You can leave the rest of them. I know Connor's going to try and sell it, but there's only one car you need to come and drive. It's this one. Honestly, it's brilliant. Fantastic day. Great. Great guys, great team. Thank you. Come on, now, get your bit.
Proper, mate. Whereabouts are you from in Yorkshire? Whereabouts are you boys?
I'm from Barnsley. For me sins.
I'm recording from a basement in Leeds right now.
You're in Leeds.
I'm recording from a basement in Leeds. Yeah, only just down the road from you.
I've been a few basements in Leeds.
Yeah. Yeah, tell us about that. That'd be more interesting. Then what about these fucking cars? Tell us about your basement in Leeds.
Oh, these cars are fucking awesome.
Proper. Thanks, pal. That was mega.
Brilliant, mate. Thank you.
No worries, thank you.
Enjoy it. Top job. That was hilarious. That was amazing. Cheers, Con. I'll push stop
No worries,
now.
mate. I'll put it back on charge and put it in the Shogun.